Hello everyone, if you are listening to this review on the Sabbath, then I would like to wish you a Sabbath filled with God's grace, to stand in allegiance with Him above everything else. This week's review is the continuation of the 12-part series, Healing for a Broken World, chapters 7 through 12. And here is the description. Many Christians desire to act as responsible citizens, but are uncertain how to do so in a truly Christian manner. This video series, consisting of 12 10-minute segments, will help. I was a bit confused for a while as I couldn't find chapter 7, and after going back and forth for a bit, I concluded it had been left out. However, it came after chapter 12. So if you purchase the series via Vision Video, be aware that chapter 7 is the last chapter in the video. So chapter 7 is about life issues. We take a look at the painful and complicated consequences of things like assisted suicide and abortion, and how these relate to what the Bible speaks of concerning the sanctity of human life, as each human being is created in the image of God. One of the presenters mentioned Psalm 139:13, which says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb." We look at the point of how slavery was abolished and how that relates to other unethical choices such as abortion. One contributor said something very interesting on another point about healthcare. They said, cuts in healthcare was backdoor euthanasia. Never thought about it that way before. We look at our role in society in helping those who cannot help themselves for some reason or another, or those who don't or have lost their voice. Another interesting point made was the role of the civil society in helping those who make unethical choices such as abortion, even though their choice is not approved of. So how can we as Christians show care in situations where we are not advocates of the choices? Chapter 8 focuses on poverty, and this chapter started with a powerful testimony from a lady that had unexpectedly fallen into poverty. From this, we look at the role of a welfare system and how God shows consistently through His Word that He cares for those who are in need. Psalm 146 was referenced. Psalm 146 is about not putting our trust in men, but in a God who provides. Verse 7 says, "He upholds the cause of the oppressed and gives food to the hungry. The Lord sets prisoners free." We look at how caring for the poor relates to solidarity, spoken of in chapter 4. It was interesting to look at the notion of helping the poor help themselves, and how Old Testament laws referenced helping the poor regarding grain, and how that can be applied to modern society by way of education and training. I like how it was emphasized that people have to be willing to take advantage of the help offered to them. After all, in the Old Testament, the poor had to go to the fields in order to get that grain that was left on the edges of the field for them. Action was required on their part. There are many questions to ask. I noticed each chapter in the series could be broken down even further, as each chapter has extensive topics. Chapter 9 is about caring for God's creation. I had never heard of the What Would Jesus Drive campaign, but got to learn some facts about it in this chapter. This chapter was focused on being good stewards of the earth. This verse was referenced. "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof." This verse was actually taken from Psalm 24. Chapter 9 also mentions highly debated subjects such as global warming and more concrete concerns such as the extinction of animals. There was a lot to reflect regarding balancing stewardship and using Earth's resources, as well as the impact of the role of government policies in the stewardship of the Earth. Chapter 10 focuses on the violations of human rights. A powerful testimony from a preacher is shown in the beginning, followed by various commentary on Christian martyrs. We look at religious freedom, modern-day slavery, sex trafficking, and the responsibilities of individuals and governments in the middle of these global issues. Chapter 11 is on the continent of Africa. I learned an amazing fact about the correlation between the growth of faith in this region and the continued increase in poverty, disease, and political instability. There is a lot of information about the situation of epidemics like AIDS in Africa and the role of local churches, non-government agencies, and the government help in relief work. There was also a lot of reflection on how we as individuals respond to the suffering of others in general. And then we have chapter 12, War and Terrorism. One thing that I really appreciated about this intense chapter was the need to focus on spiritual things even in the heat of battle. This chapter raises concerns about the notion of pursuing what we deem as evil at all costs and punishing evil with a spirit of vengeance, anger, or victory. I really like how one contributor stressed that the ultimate worst thing is to be separated from our Creator, God. That we must always have in mind. This series looks at all the issues that encompasses this sinful world we live in. It's concise, in-depth, but doesn't overwhelm. However, there is no doubt that reflection will spark deep thought about these issues and how we, as professing Christians, relate to them. I am interested in looking into getting the book that this series is based on. I watched Healing for a Broken World via Vision Video's website. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I am sure I will watch this series again and reflect on how I relate to the issues mentioned. Thank you for listening to this review. Until next time, peace be with you.